They say weddings are supposed to be a celebration of family, a moment where everyone who ever loved you shows up, stands beside you, and says, "We're here. We've got you. You're not alone." That's the fantasy. Ours looked different. Our wedding didn't have a big budget or a planning committee. It didn't have a mother fussing over flower choices or a father giving long-winded toasts about his child all grown up. No family slideshow, no hand-me-down lace, no borrowed heirlooms. What it had was us, just Leah and me, and months of Google Sheets, DIY tutorials, vendor negotiations, and countless sleepless nights. We built it ourselves. We saved every dollar we could, skipped weekends out, gave up vacation days, sold my old guitar. She stopped her skincare subscription. Every decision was weighed against, can we afford this without asking anyone for help? And we never did ask, not because we didn't need help, but because we knew the price of it. In our families, help always came with strings, invisible at first, then tightening. We wanted one day that belonged to us fully, no conditions, no guilt. So we booked a small venue by the lake, simple linens, wooden chairs, handwritten name cards I stayed up making with a metallic pen and a ruler. The only thing we truly splurged on was the cake. 3 tiers, white with gold leaf, sugar lattice work, our names scripted in the center like a seal on a quiet victory. $3,000. Way more than we planned. But it was the one thing Leah's eyes lit up for. And after the year we'd had, I told her, let's do it, just this once. The weather that day was perfect, the kind of perfect you can't plan for. Soft breeze, warm sun, no flies, no forecasts. I watched Leah walk down that aisle, and I swear the world slowed down. Her smile wasn't wide. It was small, soft, the kind that said, I made it. And I felt that in my bones. We made it. No backup, no favors called in. No, can you cover this? Texts. Just us. We had just started dinner when the coordinator wheeled out the cake. Everyone clapped, glasses clinked. I looked at Leah and whispered, "We did it." She squeezed my hand. Then from behind me, I heard heels. And that's when Kendra arrived. She walked in like it was a casual brunch, not my wedding. Kendra was late. Not fashionably, disrespectfully. Her hair was still damp, like she stepped out of the shower 10 minutes ago and thought that was enough effort. She wore stilettos, tall, glossy, impractical, digging into the soft lawn with every step. The heels sank slightly into the grass, but she didn't seem to care, or notice. Of course she didn't. No one gasped, no one clapped, but heads turned. You could feel the shift, like someone had opened a window and let in cold air, the kind of chill that tells you something's coming. She didn't make eye contact with me, didn't wave, didn't smile. She just moved slow and smooth, like she was floating through the crowd, her phone in one hand, adjusting an earring with the other, half smirking, like this was just another day where the spotlight belonged to her. She didn't bring a gift. She didn't say congratulations. She didn't hug Leah. She didn't say a single word. But her presence, it said plenty. There's a look some people carry when they believe the room owes them something. It's not arrogance exactly. It's entitlement laced with resentment. Like they're mad at you for not doing more, even though you already gave them everything. That was Kendra. Every step she took across the reception grass felt like foreshadowing, like a drum roll only I could hear, because I knew that look. I'd seen it every birthday she didn't get what she wanted. Every holiday where someone else got more attention. Every time she had to be reminded that the world wasn't built to serve her whims. And here she was walking straight toward the cake. She stopped right next to the cake, not in front of it, not near it, right beside it. The servers were just beginning to wheel it toward the center of the reception. The sun was hitting the frosting perfectly, and I remember thinking, wow, it actually made it out here in one piece. Then Kendra leaned in. She propped her elbow casually on the edge of the cake table like it was a bar counter and she was just waiting for her drink. She adjusted something near her ear. an earring maybe, or maybe she wanted it to look like an accident. And then her elbow slipped, just barely. But barely was enough. The table rocked, the cake tilted, people gasped. 1 second it stood tall, the next it collapsed forward, tipping and toppling onto the grass with a sickening soft thud. Buttercream exploded, sugar flowers shattered, gold leaf stuck to the dirt. The entire reception froze. Leah's dress, the hem of her cream train, was now smeared in frosting and crushed roses. Her hand instinctively grabbed at the fabric, stunned, not knowing where to dab first. And Kendra, she smirked, tilted her head, and said one word. Oops. No apology. No concern. Just that one detached, performative syllable like she'd dropped a fork. There were a few awkward chuckles in the crowd. Someone whispered, "Was that on purpose?" Someone else tried scooping up the top tier like that would fix anything. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just stared. Then I felt a hand on my arm, my mother's. She had a flute of Prosecco in her hand and that signature softness in her voice that always came out when she wanted to deflect. "You know how she gets when she's disappointed." That's all she said. Not, "I'm so sorry," not, "That's unacceptable." Just that. A shrug disguised a sympathy. And something inside me snapped. Not in rage, not in tears, just in realization. This wasn't new. This was the same old story rewritten in frosting and silence. The cake wasn't the start. It was the climax of a script that had been playing out for months, maybe years. A month before the wedding, I got a text from Kendra. No greeting, no emoji. Just a picture of a condo listing downtown, new construction, all glass and marble countertops. Below it, she wrote, "Thinking of moving to the east side. Mom said you might help with the down payment." There was no question mark. Not, "Would you be able to?" Not, "Do you think maybe?" Just assumption, neatly typed, soft-colored, but firm as stone. Attached was the price, $72,000. She said she'd pay me back within a year or two. She didn't have a job. She didn't have savings. Her bank app once popped up a low balance alert while we were at brunch, and she just laughed, saying, "Oops, guess lunch is on you again." I didn't respond to the condo text. 3 days later, she followed up, not with a call, not with a clarification, but with a TikTok. It was a slow pan video of the unit, sweeping views, sleek kitchen, rooftop terrace. The caption read, "Manifesting this. Please ignore my broke brother who's blocking the blessing, LOL." And that was the moment it changed. Not because she insulted me, I was used to that, but because she made it public. Because she didn't just want the condo, she wanted me to look like the villain for not handing it over. She didn't ask. She never asked. Kendra didn't ask for anything. She made you feel like you owed it to her. Kendra didn't beg. She didn't plead. She didn't cry to my face. She never needed to. She had something more powerful than confrontation, implication. She didn't ask me for the condo. She implied I should give it. She didn't say I ruined her life. She hinted I was standing in the way of it. And she didn't have to say those things directly because she had TikTok to say it for her. The video was 15 seconds, just enough time for emotional damage. It started with her panning slowly across the condo lobby marble floors, glass walls, luxury lighting. She added soft background music, something inspirational, just manipulative enough to pull at heartstrings. Then the captions came. "When you're ready for your next chapter," but someone who's supposed to love you holds the pen. Cut to her face, no tears, but eyes red. A deep sigh. Another caption, "He knows I don't have anyone else. I thought he cared." She didn't name me. She didn't have to. Her followers, mostly young women, strangers to both of us, filled the comments, "Your brother's a walking red flag. You deserve the world, queen. Typical golden child syndrome. He's jealous, you're glowing, and he can't stand it." One comment got nearly 12,000 likes. The most hurtful betrayal always comes from those we trusted to protect us. And still, I didn't reply. Because here's the thing, when someone makes you look like a villain for setting boundaries, that's not just manipulation, that's emotional extortion. Kendra didn't need money, she needed control. And the condo? It was never about real estate, it was about power. Some choices don't come with fireworks. No screaming, no dramatic music, just the soft click of a laptop trackpad at 1:12 a.m. I didn't tell Leah. Not because I was hiding it, but because I didn't need to explain what we both already knew. The cake wasn't an accident. The TikTok wasn't a joke. And the condo was the last straw in a very long line of silent obligations. I opened the folder on my desktop labeled Kendra Lease Documents. Inside were cosign agreements, transfer receipts, moving fund schedules. $12,000. Already prepared. Already planned, already expected. I stared at it for a while. Not out of doubt, but out of grief. Grief for all the times I gave quietly. Grief for the version of me that believed giving more would finally make her love me back. Grief for the brother I had been, and the brother I could no longer afford to be. Then, click. Remove name from lease. Click. Freeze transfer account. I didn't type a message. Didn't send a warning, didn't announce the change. Because when you've been the giver for so long, even silence feels like rebellion. And this wasn't rage, this wasn't revenge, this was correction. And it was time. I didn't need to set an alarm. I knew exactly what time it would happen, 9:42 a.m., the moment the system processed the changes. I didn't sit by the clock, I didn't count down. I just made coffee, stared out the window, let the silence do what silence does best, reveal everything. And then, ping, a single notification from the group chat my mom had started months ago. Fam updates. Kendra, what is this? I just got an email from the leasing office. It says the cosigner is gone. 10 seconds later, another. Did you cancel it? Are you serious right now? Then my mom chimed in, as always, with the tone of someone trying to put out a fire while holding gasoline. Sweetheart, I'm sure this is a misunderstanding. Let's all just calm down and talk first, okay? And that's when my phone started ringing. Kendra's name lit up the screen. I let it ring once, twice. Then I answered. Her voice was already high, sharp, trembling, but not from sadness, from rage. I'm standing in the leasing office and they're telling me the cosigner is gone. Do you know what that means? I could lose this place? I didn't yell, didn't flinch. I just said calmly, yes, I know exactly what it means. There was a pause, a long one. Then she snapped, you did this on purpose. Another pause, and then I said it. You knocked over our wedding cake on purpose. Dead silence. No denial. No defense, just a short, bitter response. That's not the same. And I answered, I'm logical, you're emotional, so I made a logical choice. She laughed. That laugh, that fake, mean little scoff. You're so dramatic. It was just a cake. Get over it. And then she hung up. The first text came 30 seconds after she hung up. You're cruel. Then another. You know I have no one else. You've always been like this, controlling. Then came the voice messages, rapid, breathless, accusatory. I didn't open them. Then she texted again, this time in all caps. You're destroying my life. Then from Mom, sweetheart, this is not like you. Please be the bigger person. Then another, Kendra's just emotional. You know she didn't mean anything by it. Then another, let's just talk. My phone lit up every minute. Calls, texts, voicemails, even a few from my aunt, from cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Kendra was activating the network. And suddenly, I realized she didn't need the truth on her side. She only needed a better story. And she had one. She had always had one. Because when you stay quiet long enough, people forget what you've carried. They only remember the version of you that never fights back. And Kendra knew that. She knew exactly how to flip the script, exactly how to play the victim. Exactly how to make me look like the aggressor while I said nothing at all. But here's the thing, I wasn't being silent because I was weak. I was silent because I was done. And for the first time in my life, I realized this wasn't about a cake. This was about every oops she'd ever gotten away with, every excuse Mom ever handed her like a shield, every boundary I never set, and every consequence she never faced. And now she was facing one, and she couldn't handle it. It started with a notification from my cousin Jordan. We hadn't spoken in over a year. "Hey man, just saw the thread. I'm proud of you." I blinked. "What thread?" He sent me a link. It was Kendra. She'd posted a TikTok. The caption, "When your own brother makes you homeless." Music, sad piano. Lighting, soft filtered. Tone, expertly tragic. She started the video sitting on the floor of an empty apartment, no furniture, hoodie pulled over her head, fake tears, sniffles. He knew I didn't have anyone. He said he loved me. But when I needed him most, he left. Then a quick montage. Old photos of us as kids, a screen grab of a lease agreement, a cropped screenshot of a $12,000 fund transfer blurred just enough to hide the truth. Then the final slide. This is what happens when you outshine the golden child. 600,000 views in less than 2 days, thousands of comments. He left her homeless. What kind of brother does that? You're so brave for speaking up, sis. Typical narcissistic family dynamic. He's clearly jealous. You glowed up and he snapped. No one asked for the full story. No one asked what happened at the wedding. No one asked why the cake was never mentioned. Because pain goes viral faster than truth ever could. I didn't respond. Not online, not in texts, not in the group chat. But I opened my old Google Drive. The folder was still there. Receipts, screenshots, emails, bank transfers, lease documents, all time-stamped, all untouched. And I realized something. Kendra hadn't betrayed me in silence. She'd gone global. Mom called it a family reset brunch. The name alone felt corporate, like a company rebranding after a PR crisis. She sent out a group text, "Let's get together. Just us. No drama. Let's move forward." The location? Her house. Same dining room where half my childhood arguments took place. Same china plates that were only for company, now suddenly brought out like we were guests in our own family. Leah didn't want to go. She said quietly, "It's not a reset. It's a script." And she was right. We arrived late on purpose. Brunch was already on the table, fresh flowers, mini mimosas, fruit in delicate crystal bowls. Everything looked picture perfect, but the air, tight, thin, like a stage set waiting for a line to drop. Kendra sat at the far end wearing sunglasses indoors. She didn't look up, didn't smile, just scrolled her phone like she was doing us a favor by being there. Dad was silent, as always. Mom moved around like a cruise director on a sinking ship, offering pancakes, pouring coffee, smiling too hard. No one mentioned the wedding. No one mentioned the cake. No one mentioned the viral TikToks or the condo. It was all scripted pleasantries and fake small talk, the kind designed to say, "Let's forget everything," without actually saying sorry. And that was the moment I knew this brunch wasn't for healing. It was for erasing. I wasn't planning to speak. I'd told myself I'd eat quietly, smile politely, let them perform their little family theater, then leave early. But silence only works when you're the only one holding it. Halfway through the meal, Mom set her fork down, let out the lightest sigh, and looked around the table like she was casting a spell. "We've all made mistakes lately," she said, "but maybe it's time to forgive." There it was, the reset button. Leah squeezed my hand under the table. Not in a way that said, "Don't speak," but in a way that said, "If you do, I've got you." So I spoke. Softly at first. Measured. Clear. "Okay, let's talk about mistakes." The table went still. Let's talk about what it means to destroy someone's wedding cake on purpose. Kendra rolled her eyes, loudly. Oh my God, still with the cake? I turned to her. You asked me for a $72,000 condo. I said no. And then you destroyed the centerpiece of our wedding. That's not a tantrum. That's targeted. Mom jumped in immediately. She was upset. I didn't blink. So was I. But I didn't go online and fabricate abuse for views. Dad shifted in his seat. The room cracked. This isn't the place, he muttered. It's exactly the place, I replied, because this is where the manipulation lives, in the smiles, the gloss, the let's move on before anyone is held accountable. Kendra stood up, fast, hands shaking. You've always hated me. No, I said. I protected you. I carried you. And you weaponized that. Her hands curled into fists, not in shame, but in disbelief that someone finally said it. You made choices, I said. I just stopped funding them. We stood. Leah stood with me. No one stopped us. No one called after us. And that told me everything. We didn't storm out. There was no slamming door, no dramatic exits, no shouting from the stairs. We just stood. Leah looked at me, steady, sure, and I nodded once. Then we walked, step by step, out of the house I grew up in, out of the roles they wrote for us. No one stopped us. No one followed. No one said, wait, not Mom, not Dad, not Kendra. The chairs creaked behind us. Forks clinked awkwardly. The family reset itself, without us. The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was clean. Outside, the sun felt too bright, the air too open. But I didn't flinch. Because I knew something most people take years to understand. Sometimes, when you finally walk away, no one chases you. And that's how you know you were always walking alone. We didn't make an announcement, no goodbye post, no big move photos, no address forwarded. We just moved. A small house outside the city. No gate, no glamour, no shared location tag. Just quiet. Our neighbors waved, we waved back. That was it. No stories, no explanations. No one here knew what had broken behind us, and no one asked. The silence felt different here. It wasn't weaponized. It wasn't manipulated. It just existed. Leah unpacked slowly, room by room. I fixed a squeaky door hinge, trimmed the hedges, changed all the locks. Not because we were hiding, because we were done being reachable. The phone still buzzed sometimes, Mom. Kendra, random unknown numbers. We didn't answer. We didn't have to. Because for the first time in years, silence didn't mean surrender. It meant peace. The TikToks didn't stop. If anything, they evolved. Now there were tears, perfectly timed, perfectly angled, shaky voice, muted piano music in the background, captions in soft pink, when your own brother abandons you. She didn't mention the cake, or the 72K condo she demanded, or the truth. She talked about emotional neglect, gaslighting, how I had always made her feel less than. And people believed her. The comments poured in. You deserve better, girl. Men like him are narcissists. Cut him off completely. Each lie landed like a punch, but we didn't flinch because we'd already stepped out of the theater. And Kendra, she was still on stage, performing pain she never felt, for applause she thought meant love. I didn't rage. I didn't rant. I just opened a Google Drive folder I'd quietly built for years. Photos, screenshots, money transfers. Lease agreements, birthday receipts, emergency bailouts, dates, amounts, names, evidence of a silent pattern, give, forgive, repeat. No commentary, just clarity. Then I composed a single email to the new landlord Kendra had begged to take her in. No threats, no accusations, just this. Hi, I wanted to confirm that I am no longer financially involved with Kendra, last name effective immediately. If any further documentation is needed, I'm happy to provide it. Best first name. And that was it. Not revenge, not spite, just a quiet reset. The kind that doesn't explode, it erodes. It was a quiet Sunday, the kind of day where the air hangs still, like something's coming. And then the doorbell. I opened it to find her, my mother, holding a cake, 3 tiers, white frosting, pink roses. Homemade, she smiled, as if that erased everything. Leah stood silently behind me, watching. My mother stepped forward. I just thought maybe we could talk, as a family. The cake sat heavy in her hands, like an apology too sweet, too late. I let her in, but I didn't reach for plates, and I didn't offer coffee, because this wasn't peace, it was packaging. She placed the cake down, looked around our small, quiet house, and said, "It's really her influence, you know, this distance. She changed you." Boom. Not a question, a verdict. And that's when I realized the cake wasn't a gift. It was a guilt trap. She sat on our couch like it still belonged to her. The cake on the table, untouched. "I don't understand," she said. "She's your sister. Blood. That means something." I nodded. "That's what I used to think too." She blinked, confused, maybe even scared. "You always helped her," she continued. "You were the one who kept us together." I looked straight at her. "No, I was the one who kept quiet. There's a difference." Her lips trembled. And then the question I had buried for years, why did you always choose Kendra over me? She froze, not because she didn't know, but because she did. After a long pause, she whispered, "She needed more." I smiled, not bitter, just tired. Then I stood up and said, "I don't help people who only love me when I'm useful." She didn't argue, she didn't cry, she just watched as I opened the door, for her and for everything I was done carrying. She stood at the doorway. No hug, no, I'm sorry, not even take care, just silence. I waited. 1 second, 2, 5. She didn't move, didn't apologize, didn't explain. Only the cake stood between us, melting slowly under the kitchen light. And finally, I said, "If you're waiting for me to make it easy, that part of me, it's gone." She opened her mouth, closed it, and turned away. Her footsteps echoed down the driveway. No drama, no slammed doors. Just a woman who left, and a man who stayed behind, finally weightless. It started with a box. One I had almost thrown out 3 times over the years. But something, maybe guilt, maybe habit, had stopped me. It had survived 2 moves, 1 flood, and a marriage. Tucked behind Christmas lights and unused paint cans in the garage, it sat quietly waiting, like it knew this day would come. A shoebox, plain, dusty, torn at the corners. Labeled in my teenage handwriting, Kendra, 2007, I stared at it for a long time, and then I opened it. Inside, folded notebook paper, stickers, drawings of unicorns, pizza slices, and a very misshapen cat she once named Button. Letters, so many letters. Notebooks, pages folded and sealed with glittery tape. I picked one at random. "Dear Big Brother, thank you for letting me use your laptop. Even though I got cookie crumbs on the keys, you didn't yell at me, you just smiled. You're the best." Another, "I don't like when Mommy and Daddy fight, but I like when you play music loud to cover the sound." And then the one that wrecked me, "I had a nightmare, but I didn't cry because I knew you were in the next room. You always keep me safe. Love, your baby sister." I sat there on the cold garage floor as if gravity had doubled. My arms wrapped around my knees, a dozen opened letters scattered like ghosts around me. And I cried. Not the bitter kind, not the angry kind. The kind that only comes when something inside you breaks, gently. Because I didn't cry over the $72,000 condo, or the cake. I cried for the girl who used to feel safe just because I was there, and who, somewhere between then and now, decided I was no longer worth loving unless I paid for it. The letters sat there for hours, like tiny ghosts, each one whispering, "Remember who she was. Maybe she'll come back. Don't give up yet." But I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep a shrine to a version of Kendra that hadn't existed in a very long time. So I stood, took a deep breath, and picked up the letters, one by one, folded them gently, and dropped them into the trash bin beside the workbench. Not with anger, not to erase her, but because I needed space, not in the garage, but in my heart, space to grieve what used to be, and space to finally live without being haunted by what might have been. As the lid closed, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free, not because I hated her, but because I finally chose to stop bleeding for someone who refused to stop cutting. It was just a Tuesday. No big moment, no fireworks, no dramatic final act. Just a breeze that didn't come, and a coffee that stayed warm long enough to finish. I stood in the backyard, bare feet in the grass, watching the sky turn the color of worn-out denim. Inside the house, Leah's laughter echoed from the kitchen, a soft, fluttering sound like wind chimes in June. And for the first time in what felt like decades, I didn't feel like I owed anyone anything. I wasn't bracing for a guilt trip. I wasn't calculating who might be mad next. I wasn't holding space for someone who wouldn't even say thank you. It wasn't perfect. The silence was still new. The wounds hadn't all scarred over yet, but there was peace. Not the kind you post about, not the kind you show off at family brunches, the kind you earn quietly by finally choosing yourself. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from the people you love when they refuse to love you back without conditions. Setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's clarity. And silence is not weakness, it's healing. You don't owe anyone your peace just because you share a last name. Letting go isn't giving up. It's giving yourself the chance to finally breathe. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever had to choose yourself over family or walked away to protect your peace, then you're not alone, and you deserve stories that speak to your strength. Subscribe to Pieces of Soul, where quiet courage is never forgotten, and healing begins with truth.